And welcome to the Daily Space Weather. We've got a large sunspot group rising in the southeast. We've got a large sunspot group rising in the northeast. A huge uptick in the radio flux and the sunspot number. We've got the Eugene Bagashov filament hanging out right here in front of this new sunspot group. That and lots more to cover today on the Daily Space Weather, a regular feature of the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. And by the way, congratulations on realizing that the channel exists. So likelihood of solar flares goes up. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections remains nearly at 100%. We've got huge filaments in the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk. We've got an electron storm going and lots more to cover, like the eruption of Mauna Loa, the world's largest active volcano. We'll get to it here in just a moment. First, our yesterday plus today imagery of the solar intensity gram from SDO. And check out the size of these sunspots. Yowzers, that is 3 huge umbrae down there, each larger than the Earth itself. Here is the colorized magnetogram from SDO. So big uptick here in solar activity in the last couple of days. Take a moment to press like, subscribe, share, etc. Tell your friends and foes about the content. Just so you know, we make just this side of nothing to put the videos on YouTube. So thanks to everybody who's tuned in over the years. Despite the pathetic censorship on the platform, thanks for sticking around as we insist that Google fix its junkware. Not exactly sure what the problem is. Apparently facts are very controversial as of 2020, although we have been a little concerned about censorship since about 2015. If you want to become a member of the Smash Team, join at the gold or silver level, especially at smashomash.com/Smash Team. We replaced our Patreon site with a superior website, our own. So perhaps check that out. And we've been putting up posts just for gold and silver level Smash Team members. Also, we do have some original music coming out. We'll have to tell you about that at a later point in a later video. But Golden Cat Productions is the name of the record label. Again, if you want to support the content, become a member of the Smash Team at smashomash.com/Smash Team. There's also a bronze level there, which doesn't even require you to open your cobweb-encrusted wallet and send us a few bucks per month to create the content. Support the channel with clicks by visiting smashomash.com. And welcome to the Neo Renaissance. Yeah, we are still in the process of writing a paper explaining plausibly the mechanism that underlies the solar sunspot cycles and solar polar field reversal cycles, because many times in science we ask questions and we end up with answers to questions not asked, and, well, more questions and, frankly, not very many answers. You can also find links to our Hemp Lucid shop right on the home page, as well as below the video in the description. Also enter the promo code SMASHOMASH10 to save money on checkout. There's also a 10% coupon, buy one, get one free. There are the most popular items, the water-soluble CBD tincture. Once again, check it out. They make great gifts. Shop by solution. Shop in whatever way you feel like shopping. Get some gift given out of the way by picking up some items, perhaps maybe all 3 mushroom products. Who knows? Again, links below the video as well as on the homepage. And let's take a look at what's going on in the Central Pacific Ocean. That is what we call a hotspot. That big black blob there in the middle of the big Hawaiian island, the big island of Hawaii, that is off the scale hot. That's Mauna Loa. And let's see what other volcanoes have been erupting in the past 24. So here's our rundown. Shivaluch is exploding on the Kamchatka Peninsula, producing a 12,000-foot plume of volcanic ash. Abiko, 10,000-foot plume of volcanic ash over Paramushir Island. Subanose Jima also exploding, flight level 070. 7,000-foot ash plume, 14,000-foot ash plume over Semeru. That's located on East Java, Indonesia. Dakono also exploding, 6,000-foot ash plume from Dakono. And Taupo has been causing some tsunamis. Yes, a tsunami caused by a 5.6 magnitude earthquake beneath the lake on the 30th of November. Yes. Small tsunamis caused in the lake occasionally. If you're hanging out around the lake shore and you feel shaking or you hear a loud boom or unusual lake conditions, maybe move away from the lake shore. Don't be swept up by a lake tsunami from Lake Taupo, under which is a volcano. Mauna Loa continues to erupt here. Fissure 3 is the main emitting lava fissure. It's flowing toward the Daniel K. Inouye Highway, otherwise known as Saddle Road. Currently about 3.2 miles from the road. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Popocatépetl. Volcanic ash not seen in satellite or webcam. Don't assume Popocatépetl is not exploding. If you're in central Mexico, do not attempt to pole vault the caldera. Fuego in Guatemala exploding. Flight level 150 over Guatemala. Nevado de Ruiz exploding. Flight level 190. Sangay exploding. Flight level 190. Also a 19,000-foot ash plume. Reventador, 16,000-foot ash plume as it explodes in Sabancaya. 25,000-foot ash plume as it explodes in Peru. Let's look at, now that we've looked at volcanoes, let's look at seismic activity. Here is the current state of affairs for the past 90 days. We've seen a little bit of an uptick here in the past few weeks. Past 24 hours have been quite calm here, seismically speaking. There was a 5.1 magnitude quake there south of Panama. Not very many other large quakes here over a 5 magnitude. So just going to scroll up the list here. We encourage our viewers to let us know in the comments if we miss anything. New Zealand also had a 5.1, and no, that was not under Lake Taupo, but it was at an extreme depth. At over 168 kilometers, it was north of Lake Taupo. And Indonesia also had a 5.0, and let's get back to space. So here's the past 24 hours from SDO in ionized helium. Once again, we've got major filaments here on the Earth-facing portion of the solar disk, like this one down here. Also a large filament up here, known as the Eugene Bagashov filament, and also one down here. So once again, likelihood of coronal mass ejections remains nearly 100%. We've got a high-speed coronal hole wind stream, electron storm, and lots more to cover, so let's get to it. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux now has jumped up to 119 solar flux units. And here is the one-year chart to put the radial flux in context. 119 is the new number. Space weather enthusiast dashboard not forecasting any geomagnetic storms, although a period of geomagnetic unrest is expected midday Sunday. There you can see some 4+ planetary K-index forecast there from NOAA. And we've seen a reduction in the solar wind speed here since we did show prep. Let's take a look at Earth's magnetic moment from space for the past 4 hours. This is showing magnetohydrodynamic pressure. We're seeing some big variations here in the solar wind. We've got a sputtering solar wind speed here at the moment. Some inconsistencies in terms of the both velocity, density, temperature. Lots of factors in a state of flux. So that's Earth's magnetic moment from space. Here's Earth's magnetic moment from the ground. We show it daily on the channel. That is geospace delta B changes to Earth's B field. And of course, coronal holes are the source of the high-speed solar wind. Let's take a look at the planetary K-index next, a measurement of global geomagnetism. We're currently at KP 2.67. So geomagnetic calm conditions, and let's take a look at the real-time solar wind next. Current solar wind conditions, you can see these big fluctuations happening in the plasma temperature, also in the solar wind velocity and density. Current conditions are solar wind speed about 520 kilometers per second, solar wind density just over 5 protons per cubic centimeter. And let's take a look at some magnetic data as Earth is in the process of entering a new heliospheric current sheet, the South Pole one. These are the measurements from the GOES magnetometers. The GOES 16 N17 there, making some thruster maneuvers, creating plasma, which is what those arc jet moments are. Those can affect the magnetometer, so they are shown in the data. Next, looking at the heliospheric current sheet. Here we go. For some reason, it needs refreshing, so there we have it. You can see that South Pole current sheet rocketing this way. If it's not here already, it'll be here soon. Keep in mind this data is nearly 2 hours old when we stream the video. And a good point here is that since we see a South Pole current sheet, we may see the north sunspot group intensify or the south sunspot group de-intensify. So that would be the best prediction based on this data. We can expect to see the southern sunspot group in the southeast. We can expect to see that shrink and or the northern group grow or both. Here's our line of sight field plot. It shows the solar B field in blue, the solar magnetogram in gray, and solar polar fields in green for north and red for south. So that's our line of sight field plot, and next let's move to coronal holes, a very important feature of solar cycles. So there's what's going on with coronal holes. We do have this well-defined trans-equatorial south pole-oriented coronal hole rotating in. Let's take a look at that from SDO. So over here we've got north. That's a north pole coronal hole. And over here we've got a south pole coronal hole. We can expect that to have some significant geomagnetic storm conditions, as trans-equatorial coronal holes are the most geo-affective type. And let's move to sunspots next. Likelihood of solar flares way higher now as a result of these two new groups over here, 3153 and 3156, I guess it'll be named. We've also got this little group in the south, which is nothing to shake a stick at. I guess you could shake a stick at it if you like. And of course this group in the north as well, and a couple little sunspots over here, 3152 area. And let's take a look at those in some additional detail. So here we've added, this is SDO Continuum plus 193 angstroms to show the extended corona. And let's get a little closer to provide a little additional detail. So here's this rising group in the southeast. Don't be surprised to see that shrink and or the northern group grow based on the magnetic data. Here's the entire southern hemisphere. And here's the northern hemisphere. A little bit of umbral migration happening there in that one group. And here's this sunspot group, which is actually, it's got some leaders ahead of it also. These might get names as well. So we've got quite a bit of activity there. This is now beta gamma class sunspot group as well. We'll show you some high-res imagery of that toward the end of the video. GOES proton flux remains flatlined here, so we've had some significant flares. However, no relativistic particles showing up there. And there's the X-ray flare profile over the past 3 days. We did have a large C8 flare. I believe that came from the northern group up here. That's 131 angstroms. We'll also show 94 angstroms. So some flaring coming from both of those large sunspot groups. Some plasma reorientation happening and some transverse waves coming out of some of those flares. And next, let's bring up a star chart. So we're always interested in what's going on over our head. And this is what's happening at the moment. Mars has recently set in the west. The sun has risen in the east, as well as Cygnus in the north-northeast. That's in-the-sky.org. The yellow line is the ecliptic. The blue line is the setting galactic plane. Next, solar system forecast. As we approach the December full moon, let's advance this 1 week. As where things will be in a week, we will have a gibbous waning moon by the 9th of December. Keep in mind that is not to scale. Next, we're looking at coronagraphs. Here's yesterday's coronagraph images. There's 100 frames from George Mason University. Let's also look at today. And if you're wondering if any of those coronal mass ejections are earthly directed, let's take a look at stereo A to figure that out. Stereo A is located here at Lagrange 5. It chases the Earth, orbitally speaking. It sees space weather ahead of the Earth, though. Hence the term stereo A. It stands for ahead. Soho Lasco C3 located here in between Earth and Sun at Lagrange point 1, shown here on the right. So no earthly directed CMEs. We did have one that was sort of in the earthly vicinity. It was off to the northwest. Excuse me. Well, that's what's going on there. Here are some 24-hour videos showing SDO 304 angstroms plus Soho Lasco C2 and C3. As we just bring you the most detailed imagery of the closest star and the Earth-Sun environment that is available in the known universe. Here's a further zoomed-out view. Again, none of those coronal mass ejections are earthly directed. Continuing on to look at filaments. We've got major filaments here. Let me refresh that. So this is the El Teide, Spain ground-based solar observatory. We've got huge filaments in the corners. So here's one in the southwest, the southeast, and the northeast. Once again, likelihood of large flares, very, very high. Likelihood of coronal mass ejections in the earthly vicinity remains nearly at 100%. Huge filaments to eject. Here's the last couple of hours from the AGOS 16 SUVI. Perhaps some additional activity in this sunspot group down here in the southeast. Looks like a little bit of instability happening there. And here's the last 24 hours in the house favorite 171 angstroms wavelength. Just splentacular imagery there from SDO. And once again, thanks everybody for viewing it on our channel. Next, bonus features in the form of satellite charging hazards. We have some significant satellite charging hazards here. Internal ones caused by high energy electrons building up inside of satellite circuitry. At the moment, they are over southern Africa, Madagascar, the central Indian Ocean, portions of the central Atlantic, and West Pacific. Some surface charging also in the central Pacific caused by low energy electrons building up on the surfaces of satellites. These internal and surface charging hazards could cause some satellite communication errors in the coming days. We've also got an electron storm going, as we stated earlier in the video. Electron flux levels here reaching well into warning levels. Getting as high as about 4 times warning levels. Actually reaching about 10 times warning levels there for a moment yesterday. And here's the NOAA forecast. They've lowered it a little bit here, but still expecting high levels of electron flux. Here's the one-year chart to put it in context. Not quite as high as forecasted in yesterday's video. And of course, you can always check previous videos to see what was going on as we cover lots of data. Lots of facts, which are, again, controversial. now that it's the year 2022, aka 1984. Next, we're going to take a look at the F ionosphere layer, the vibrational frequency of it. It's the bridge between Earth and space. So we show it daily, and we've got huge anomalies once again in the F layer of the ionosphere. So some enduring anomalies, which you'll be able to see over places like South America, the South Atlantic, Southern Africa. You'll see on the anomalygram, if you're not familiar with the ionogram vibrational frequency map that we're showing here, this is actual megahertz, millions of vibrations per second. Here is the anomalygram, and you'll see these low-frequency anomalies hanging out. South Atlantic, South Pacific, South America, Central Indian Ocean, and Southern Africa. So huge low-frequency anomalies there continuing. Again, that's about 300 kilometers of altitude. Here's the latest image. That's 1300 Universal Time. Coming at you a little bit later today, once again. 1300 Universal Time anomalygram, 1300 Universal Time ionogram. Next, we'll show the total electron content forecast. It is the free electrons between your GPS satellite and your handset. These are the most likely areas to see GPS errors. There's a total electron content map from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. And here's the Space Weather Prediction Center total electron content forecast. And we're seeing, as forecasted here, a little bit more organized total electron contents. We see less organized total electron content when we see low levels of electron flux. We've documented it for years and years on the channel. It is a normal correlative factor of things like coronal hole high-speed streams. So we are seeing that subside as Earth moves into a South Pole-oriented current sheet. Next, some high-res imagery of the closest star. And we'll take a look at some sunspots. So let's start out here in the southern hemisphere. There's that sunspot group. It is beta gamma class. This northern sunspot group is next. Also beta gamma class. You could maybe even say that it is beta gamma delta class. Next, this group down here, which may shrink. Certainly beta class, beta gamma class, that is. Huge umbrae down there. At least 3 of them larger than the Earth. And now this group up here, which has gained a little bit of complexity. We do see a trailing umbra there. And actually, that's still an alpha class sunspot group. This trailing umbra is North Pole oriented. So at the moment, likelihood of that producing major flares not all that high, because again, it is an alpha class sunspot group. So here's the full rock back. This group up here looks like it's degraded a lot. Still some umbrae there. It is still beta gamma class. So lots more sunspots here, a big uptick in solar activity, and let's take a look at the colorized magnetogram plus 171 angstroms. That data is yesterday plus today. And it's time to move into the realm of meteorology. So we've been putting all of our videos together lately. So here comes the meteorology segment, a regular feature also at the Smash News Network Least Busted Name in News. Let's do it. It's meteorology time, and we're starting things out by looking at our merch. Yes, our merch. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Again, we make just this side of nothing to put the content on YouTube. And of course, we've got some edgy merch there. Some of it may or may not be a little bit disturbing. I don't know. Our bestseller there in the upper left contains words which will not be mentioned. Today's featured product is the Galactic Federation Special Forces, and the motto is Universum Liberate. If you want to frighten people on the internet, if you want to convince them that you're a member of the Illuminati or that you attend Bohemian Grove ceremonies, make sure that you start speaking Latin. That'll freak them. That'll show them. Universum Liberate. It literally means free everybody. Yes, because we are free speech purists on the channel. And since free speech has been utterly broken since about 2015, we're wondering when Google, Facebook, Apple, and Twitter will face accountability for their pathetic behavior over the past 6+ years. But accountability always comes. So I would say Universum Liberate. While some people do belong in prison for their activities, we would still prefer to see everybody free, because in an ideal world, free speech is allowed to be said. You can say whatever you want. This is the U.S., last I checked. Or you could say ALSA, the allegedly United States of America. The Galactic Federation Special Forces is keeping an eye on it. And Universum Liberate. The symbolism, by the way, means the Milky Way galaxy is the spiral. The lightning bolt represents instantaneous reach at a galactic scale. The key represents signal strength, security, and integrity. And this little bright spot up here represents classified information, which I am not at liberty to share. Universum Liberate. If I could wave my magic wand, I'd set each of you free. I would also set speech free if I was able, but I'm not. We've got pushing 18,000 tweets and 337 followers on Twitter, a truly pathetic, broken platform, which is still deboosting accounts. If you think free speech has been restored, think again. It's not restored by any stretch of the imagination. Everybody who's celebrating Elon fixing free speech, wow. What planet are you living on? You are deranged. Free speech is not restored. By the way, you can find links to our SureMed as well on the Twitter page, because you'll find links to smashamash.com, on which SureMed is also linked. SureMed, it's not insurance. It's an association membership that gives you all sorts of discounts. So if you regularly pay things out of pocket at the doctor, at the veterinarian, at the dentist, for vision products, MRIs, labs, CT scans, vitamins, pharmaceuticals, save cash by becoming a member of SureMed. Again, it's not insurance. It's the association membership with the American Better Health Organization, focused on improving the health of its members. I'm a member. How come you're not? Now, it's meteorology time, and we're looking at some dense dust here over the central Atlantic Ocean. That's dust from the Sahara. Yes, the Sahara. It fertilizes the Caribbean. It's part of the reason why the Caribbean is so lush, because of Saharan dust blowing across the Atlantic Ocean. Yes. The planet is connected in mysterious ways. Check it out. We've got some major dust happening here in the... is that the Gobi Desert? I suspect it probably is. And let's move to surface winds. These are the surface winds of the eastern world. Here are the jet streams of the eastern world. A huge jet stream kink happening over Australia, as some cold Tasmanian air making its way up into the central eastern portion of the country. And we hope COVIDiocy is going to be cured soon in the island nation of Australia. I don't know what the status is, but COVIDiocy continues around the planet as if it will never end. Here are the jet streams over the western world. We've got some strong jet streams in the east, and then a divergence. Actually, a divergence in the east and a strong concentration of the jet streams in the west. Here are the surface winds of the Americas. Powerful low pressure there off the coast of Vancouver. Surface winds of the central world are looking like this. Watch out, folks. Here comes some more facts. It's the jet streams for Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Check out the meridional jet stream flow going on up here. Extreme warm air blowing up into the north. Extreme cold air blowing down here into Western Europe. meridional jet stream flow at its finest. When the jet stream blows north and south, it's meridional jet stream flow. Continuing on to clouds and fog over the Americas. That is the 3.9 nanometer radiation map. Some rapid cloud nucleation happening over Brazil. And some low clouds over the western Atlantic. Check out all the low clouds. Low clouds all around Bermuda. Anyway, that's what's going on in terms of clouds and fog from that perspective. Next, looking at our weather.gov map, and we've got lots of winter weather warnings here, some red flag warnings over Kansas, some winter weather advisories, and some gale warnings around the Atlantic seaboard, parts of the Gulf. If your county's lit or your waterway, click your county or waterway on weather.gov. It's too much information to cover. Weather.gov is where you can find those warnings. And let's take a look at the pressure and precipitation forecast based on the GFS model for the next 72 hours. By the way, there's an additional 4 feet of snow coming for sections of California. Yes, an additional 4 feet of snow. So that's your pressure and precipitation forecast. Here is your total accumulated snow depth change based on the same model and the same time, the GFS 72-hour total accumulated snow depth change forecast. Check it out. That is over 4 feet of snow forecasted for portions of California. Yowzers. You see it turn white right there. That is 48 inches of snow in the forecast. That's additional snow. So it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. It's barely December. And let's take a look at windy.com. We're going to advance this 3 days for the European forecast model. There's a European forecast model. And let's zoom in and see what the total depth is in some of these areas like Mammoth Lakes. Going to move our bar around here and see there's 49 inches, 46 inches. We do see some 50-inch spots here. Some heavy, heavy snows there coming to California. Check it out, folks. Greenland, it's still not melted. It's still got more than 5 meters of snow from coast to coast. Who would have ever guessed? Don't tell Al Gore we told you so. Next, looking at our NASA GOES lightning mapper, we see some Central American lightning, some Atlantic lightning. A strong cell here hanging out in the Central Atlantic. And let's go to real-time lightning maps from lightningmaps.org to see what's going on. We did see some Mediterranean lightning. Indeed, we do see some Western Mediterranean lightning happening here. Off the coast of Sardinia. Next time you hear thunder, check out lightningmaps.org. It could save your you-know-what. And we're going to close things out with the U.S. Doppler radar map, the shortwave radiation map showing clouds and fog, and of course the water vapor map, as we do most days. So let's do it. Here's the U.S. Doppler radar map, the full 50 states of AUSA, the allegedly United States of America. Former nation, now banana republic. As since March of 2020, when it became evident that governors alone could destroy the nation. So here is the lower 48 view. Here is clouds and fog. Again, look at all those low clouds over the Atlantic seaboard. So that's clouds and fog. It's still dark over half the country, and there is water vapor. Quite a bit of moisture there over most of the country here, making its way to the east. Here's your recap. Vertical motion of water droplets and snowflakes in the air column. Ground-based systems known as Doppler radar. Space-based systems known as the NASA GOES Interactive Weather Satellite Suite Shortwave Radiation Map. 3.9 nanometers is the wavelength. And there is the water vapor map. Hopefully that'll clear things up. Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Space Weather. Once again, congratulations on realizing the channel exists. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind be at your back. Opinions expressed in this video, not necessarily the opinions of Smash News Network, least busted name in news.